The biggest sign for me that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is a great game is that there are so many moments I want to tell you about so badly, but that would spoil the entire game. Oh my god, Rift Apart? I've just got that pun. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart follows the tales, quite literally you are playing in third person after all, of Ratchet and Rivet, Ratchet's alternate dimension counterpart. Dimension, yeah, you heard me right. Dr. Nefarious has got his metallic hands on the newly created Dimensionator and ripped holes in the universe, connecting dimensions from all around. For you, that means you're visiting brand new planets from an alternate universe, meeting parallel versions of your favourite characters, and also getting to know Rivet. Rivet is an irreplaceable addition to the series. She's a refreshing mix of determined and very untrusting of new folk, yet will do anything for her friends. As we're familiar with Ratchet and Clank by now, having a new character with, to be honest, an impressive amount of depth, keeps the story feeling fresh and unpredictable. Touching moments later on in the game, in particular, add a dash of maturity to this tale too, and it's surprising how much is done with character development, considering how much of the game is smashing things into bolts and unloading an ungodly amount of ammo into fire-toned enemies.
Normally I'd say that's against protocol, but this is a free post-apocalypse world we live in, so go for it!
The writing is funny, but I found that it was the small details that tickled me more. In amongst the NPCs, there are dozens of little quirks in their behaviour that caught my eye, and made me stand still and watch to see what on earth was going on. Like this brief exchange before I went in with the bullets.
Mad respect for hiring us.
Some animated conversations in the bar, and plenty more to catch your wandering eye, just long enough to make you think, huh, that's cool. Oh, and speaking of eyes and what you can see, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart looks absolutely stunning on the PS5. It's crisp, intricate, and clearly takes utter joy in pushing the planets to their aesthetic limit. Sometimes you're walking through neon-lit bars, a rainy dystopian city, or through a verdant, lush forest. I stopped to watch what was going on around me a fair few times because I just wanted to drink it all in. As for the main story, it's got a fair amount of unexpected twists and turns to keep you engaged, and certainly went a couple of places I didn't expect it to. I could never be quite sure what awaited me on each planet, or even in each boss fight. And, to my absolute delight, these boss fights aren't always you shooting until the big bad evil thing is dead. Gonna remain enigmatic about that so I don't spoil anything. So, anyway, that leads me rather nicely onto Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart's gameplay.
Lombax robot, brilliant news!
It's so fun. Fun is the only word to describe the gameplay, as it's just distilled, concentrated, fun. Every little smidgen of gameplay is emphasised and made all the richer by the game's exquisite attention to haptic feedback. I felt the lethargic drag of my feet through water, or the breeze from ships flying past. I haven't been this impressed by the refined ways my controller can vibrate since playing Super Mario Odyssey on Switch. And while I'm on the subject of how the controller is used, let me talk real quick about the adaptive triggers. They're the unexpected star here, letting you change how your weapon behaves depending on how far you press them down. Additions stretch beyond the adaptive triggers though, with the dimensions unsurprisingly being quite a big new thing to play with. Latch onto these dimension tears during a fight and they'll teleport you to the other side of the area, quickly becoming an intuitive way to make sure I didn't get backed into the corner or left floundering when my health was low. As you can quickly teleport from one to the other to get a new angle on foes, which is much needed in later fights, or simply hunt down an ammo crate if you're stuck using only your blaster pistol. I mean, when it comes to gunplay, it's Ratchet and Clank through and through. buy lots of guns, upgrade said guns, and combine them to create a nightmare of knock-on effects for your various enemies. Stacking up the perfect series of attacks to render your enemies into dust is deliriously satisfying, as the upgrades allow you to finesse these combinations with a generous range of weapons that control enemies, deal straight-up damage, or give you temporary allies on the battlefield. Playing with different strategies while you dodge through hailstorms of bullets never ceases to delight, and it felt so natural to build up my own sequence of topiary, mushrooms, and lightning bullets because yes, that really is a combo that works. All the comboing you can do with weapons meant that even the late game bosses and the mini-bosses went down as smoothly and quickly as my wrench smashing through a pile of crates.
There! One of my bots is up there! It's... sweet.
No matter how I describe it, just trust me when I say the combat is stellar, with the late game guns giving you just enough power to tackle the harder enemies and bigger swarms of foes without you feeling overpowered. Towards the end of the game, some set pieces do feel a little bit rushed, but those are the very few things I can think of that's wrong with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart's gameplay. Unfortunately, I should mention that I did run into a couple of crashes and a few bugs in the enemy AI. But it was nothing that a reload of the game couldn't fix, and I reckon these minor bugs will be fixed in the Day 1 patch. Autosaves are very regular too, so I never missed more than a couple of minutes worth of progress. As for where you'll be shooting things, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart keeps mixing up the settings so you're never sure what each different planet holds, what's going to be trying to kill you, and how you're going to survive it.
I wonder how much Nefarious is paying these guys. Not nearly enough.
Grinding down rails one moment, racing on acid, but not in that way, the next, going to a nightclub or fighting in an arena. I loved visiting each new planet because I knew it was going to hold something completely different from what I'd been through before, and it's quite the feat that I was never really disappointed with each different quirky environment that was shoved in Ratchet or Rivet's furry features.
Whoa, that was close!
I also really appreciate that the majority of the side quests have you doing different things, like arena fighting or speeding across the plains, so you're not just being given mini fetch quests to tide you over until you go back to the main story. Along with the main quest and side quests comes a concentrated dose of puzzle minigames. These are obligatory parts of the main quest, but if you're not vibing with them, you can skip them and it will put you right at the end, so you don't waste time being frustrated. So you have a Lemmings-like interdimensional puzzle featuring Clank, and a bullet hell-like section, yes, really, where you play Glitch, a tiny spider automaton who clears out viruses from computers for our protagonists. These diversions from the main game don't overstay their welcome, acting as a sort of palate cleanser to give you a short respite from Ratchet or Rivet to try a completely different style of gameplay. Although I found the glitch sections a bit irritating later on in the game, as you don't have access to the arsenal that Ratchet or Rivet do, and so feel a bit underpowered and overwhelmed by mobs, the Clank sections were pure puzzle, making it a far cry from the guns and enemies of the main game, and I really loved that I could flex my brain muscles instead of my finger muscles. Basically, if you like previous Ratchet and Clank games, I can't emphasise how much you should buy Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. It's simply dazzling and will bequeath you with hours of engaging, surprising, and bullet-filled fun.
Here we go.
And if you haven't played previous Ratchet and Clank games, guess what? You should still get Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. It had been years since I'd played a Ratchet and Clank game, and I had a blast. So, if you're looking for something family-friendly to while away a weekend with, or just want to zone out hitting things over the head with bombs, or floating mushrooms and get bolts in return, get this in your eyeballs stat. So, that's what we think of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. If you enjoyed this video, thanks very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Eurogamer, as we have a new video out every single day. Why not follow us on Instagram too, as you can find us on there at Team Eurogamer. You'll get daily updates on the videos and streams we have coming out on the channel. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go, so make sure you stay hydrated, folks. I'll see you next time.